One of the deepest held grievances that I've realized people hold over the past couple of years is that everybody really wants to matter, and we feel like we don't. We scream it in our slogans, we talk around it in a lot of ways, but rarely do we define it and how to make it so. So that's what we're going to talk about today: what it means to matter and why it's so important, and how we can move towards creating a life that matters for us. So, what does it mean to matter? Well, it's interesting when we often look at the physical definitions of something and compare it to the emotional and spiritual definitions of things. They tend to overlap at times. And so, to matter in a physical sense is a physical substance in general, as distinct from mind and spirit. And in physics, that which occupies space, so something that takes up space, is something that has matter. And it's especially as distinct from energy. So it's not what we do, it's not how we act, it's just who we are. And if we look at that in the psychological aspect, to matter means to be of importance and to have significance. We want to be known, we want to be heard, we want to be seen. But even if we get those things, everybody today has the ability to pick up a phone, a screen of any sort. Here on this computer, I'm creating content that I think matters for other people to listen to and hopefully gain some inspiration from. But in doing so, we've actually created a really noisy void where if there's so much information, people still feel that their information isn't getting out to whom it would resonate with. And we're going down a slippery slope with that, with creating more and more bifurcations, diversifications of our lives. Historically, we were more of a collective group. Well, because one, we needed each other. We needed people to help to create food, to create shelter. There weren't a lot of industries or innovation or systems to help us to do so. And so we had to band together with whomever we lived by to be able to create those lives. And in sharing that sense of purpose, that really allowed a lot of people to feel like they mattered. That without them, the house might not have been built. Without them, the crop may not have come in. But today's world is a lot different. We can go to the grocery store, we can order things from our phone, we can work from home. We don't have to see another person on a daily basis unless we're watching videos on TV. And even then, if it's cartoon, then we really aren't interacting with actual humans anyway. And so it's become this slippery slope that has made people feel that they're insignificant, that it doesn't matter how loud they scream or what they're saying or how good they try to be. It's never enough. It doesn't meet our current expectations of perfection, of success, and it causes this longing inside of us that, left alone to its own devices, creates chaos and destruction. And it also creates a lot of pain. And so I want to take just a minute and define then, what are the different parts of feeling like we matter? So what it means to matter, I have 3 C's. It should be pretty easy to remember. They're care, concern, and crave. And I made them C's so that they all link together, but we'll talk about the definitions of each of them. Now, to care, well, to feel cared for means that someone thinks about you in a loving fashion. Not that you're annoying or they don't want you around, but that you're missed when you're not in the group. And people are curious to know about you, about one's perspective, about your endeavors in life. People are interested in who we are, and they ask the questions to help us to be able to share that with them. So in essence, someone gives a bleep about you and wants to know, how do you think and feel, and what are your actions? What are you thinking about bringing to this world? Now, to have concern for someone means to be curious about their well-being and to check in regularly. So not only do we miss them, but we really want to know, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How have you been dealing with all of this change that everybody's going through? And doing so in a consistent manner, checking in regularly. Now that's going to be different for every person. Some people need more attention. Some people have bigger social circles. So, we just need to find the right balance. And again, that kind of goes back to the first point of care. By asking somebody and really getting to know somebody, that is how people start to feel like they take up space in your life and that they matter to you. And the last point, to crave, well, really in this sense, I talk about feeling desired. So again, people want to be around you. They want to spend time with you, and they feel that their life is enhanced by the inclusion of one's unique gifts, talents, traits, and ideas. And so you belong to the group. How do I want to say that? You're an integral part of the puzzle pieces that are needed to create this shared purpose, or to create that family structure, or to create those bonds within that community. And so practicing that care and concern and crave for others is really how we can help them to feel that they matter. Now, I've heard some other ideas shared out there, even recently, about how to help people feel like they matter. And I wanted to discuss a few of those because I think they're conflating multiple concepts and ideas into one. Some of the advice that I've heard others give about helping people to matter are to be kind all the time, to be lenient on people because they're dealing with so much in other places, and that we have to provide them a judgment-free zone with few critiques. And those ideas are good. They are. But they need to be treated with care and in the right spots, because they can often backfire if we do them incorrectly. Yes, people need a safe space. They need to have a place where we can retreat back to in order to decompress, to not have to put on any airs on our public face. We don't have to think about anyone else's feelings for a little while, so we can really tend to our own. That is important. And we also should have people that we can come to in order to work through and process those emotions. And so that is important, but doing so as a blanket statement, that's when it can backfire, because that's part of the problem we see right now. We all need something to push against. And we're talking a lot about how much of a struggle this time has been, especially for the younger generations. And it has been, and it is, and there are a lot of problems we need to fix. But what we can do to help is not just be fluffy and soft with no boundaries to them. We need to act a little more like gravity. Now, we've all heard stories about astronauts going up in space and the differences of how our bodies act in space versus here on Earth. And a lot of that is because of gravity. Now, when we walk around every day, as we grow, as we change, we're fighting against gravity. It doesn't feel difficult because, one, we're used to it, and two, it's soft enough of a push for us. We can walk around, we can stand up, we can move things. So gravity, while it holds things, it's not crushing things, right? So we need to balance that both in our physical sense with our gravity, but also in our emotional and our mental spaces by having people that that gently push us, again, that care and have that concern and crave for us to be a part of their lives, to be something that we struggle against, to be something we use to compare ourselves to. And again, with our current environment, not seeing people for days at times, we start to look at the world as happening in 2 dimensions on our screens, and that we think that that's really what life is about, or in 30-second or 6-second or 5-second chunks. And so we lose the continuity of that struggle against the interactions of humans. So we don't want to remove all stress. That's not the answer. Yes, have that space where you can retreat to, but often we should be focusing on growing our resiliency, on learning what our capacities are when things are too much, when we're overwhelmed. Why are we overwhelmed? What is it that happened? What are the multiple factors of how we're changing internally, along with the changes that are happening in our environment at the same time? We need to be cognizant of what's happening to us in order to then be able to understand the struggle so that we can then grow and reach our highest potential. And that is really how we're going to help people feel like they matter. So how do we help someone matter? Again, it's not about being nice or polite or loving all the time. We do always want to lead with kindness. That's our family rule. If someone needs help and they really want to grow, then there's a difference there. We want to give them people boundaries that they can then decide if they work for them. We want to come to understanding of how our rhythms can interact together so that everybody can thrive. And that comes often with a little bit of sacrifice on every member's side. It's about being present. To help someone matter, we need to be present emotionally, not just physically, but emotionally. We need to listen to the questions and answers that we're having in these dialogues and really contemplate them. Roll them around in our head a little bit. They said this. Let me, instead of just speaking back what I think, let me think about what they said for a second. Absorb it, and then if I don't understand it or I need more clarification, ask questions or clarifying statements in order to make sure that we're coming from a shared understanding. So it takes work to help somebody matter. And over this past decade, we really have forgotten that our responsibility to each other is to collaborate, is to create, is to combine, is to help each other matter and to become communities. We want to share compassion with one another, right? We want to provide balance when someone's off kilter. And we want to be involved in the people we love struggles with life. We want to help them, and in turn, they'll help us. And if you want to know a little more about compassion, I have a nice blog post that talks about how do we share compassion, what is compassion, and how do we start to evoke it more throughout the world. So let's take the first step. And the very first feedback that I think I'm probably going to get is, well, I don't know if I can do that today because, well, isn't everyone tired? And who has the time, the energy, right? You're talking about the fact that this takes consistency, this takes time, this takes sacrifice. Gosh, haven't I sacrificed enough? Sure, I would say. That's very valid. And so the first step of even starting this process is to start with you. When you find purpose, when you uncover interests, your curiosities, this helps you to start creating your resiliency and your strength. It gives you the ability to have the energy to bounce off of other things and then to start becoming something that others bounce off of. And this creates our space. This creates that matter that we take up in the world. But doing so can also include helping others. Remember, No man is an island. Even though it seems like we can create a fully solitary existence, we're really missing out if we do that. And so, being with others, you can start to find this purpose together. You can start to question about your curiosities, about their curiosities, and discuss shared purposes and interests. Discover new ones together. So, yes, it can start with you. We don't want to be selfish, but we want to start somewhere. And the best place to start is with ourselves. To find out more information, please check us out at elementsoflife.org. Thanks for your time. Please take care.